This week in science, we've been continuing to talk about electricity. And this week we've been focusing on toasters and how they work. So today you have two new vocabulary words. I want you to take a look at those vocab words. The first one is conductor. A conductor is something that allows electric current to flow easily. Yesterday we talked about a conductor, and that was water. We talked about water. Water is a conductor of electricity. That means that electricity flows through water very easily. That's why it's so dangerous to be around water and electricity at the same time. Okay? Some metals are conductors. And this isn't part of what we're going to talk about today, but the opposite of a conductor would be an insulator. Those are things that do not conduct electricity. And there are some things that do not allow electricity to flow through easily. Okay, but today we're focusing on conductors, and those are things that, what? Allow electric current to flow easily, to move through easily. And the second vocab word you have today is resistor. A resistor is something that limits the flow of electric current through a circuit. Okay? So it's going to limit it. Let's look at our passage. I want you to read along as I read it out loud. Inventors in the early 1900s knew that electricity flowed through conductors such as metal. They also knew that some metals were not as good at conducting as others. The inventors found that these metals could be used to limit the flow of electric current in a circuit. Such metals are called resistors. When electric current flows through a circuit, some of that electrical energy turns into another form of energy, heat. When a resistor is added to the circuit, even more electrical energy is converted to heat. This was the result that the inventors of toasters wanted. So let's look at the first question. You're choosing if this is true or false. A conductor allows electric current to flow through it easily. Is that true or false? True. I can go back and I can look at the definition of conductor, and it says something that allows electric current to flow easily. So I know that is true. You can go ahead and click your answers as we go. The second question says electrical energy can make heat energy. Is that going to be true or false? How do you know that that's true? What does it tell us in our passage so that we know that's true, Jaden?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about what's in the passage, but I might have to be a little trick fire.
Okay. Where in our passage, what text evidence tells us that that is true? Go back up to your passage and find the sentence that tells us that electrical energy can make heat energy. Braylee, what is it?
It says when electric current flows through a circuit, some of that electrical energy turns into another form of energy, like heat.
Exactly. The first sentence in the second paragraph says when electric current flows through a circuit, some of that electrical energy turns into another form of energy, heat. So that is true. That sentence proves it's true. Yes, Katie?
Can I play the practice?
No. All right. Next says resistors convert less energy into heat than conductors do. Resistors convert less energy into heat than conductors do.
False.
Cash, why do you say it's false?
It didn't say that in the passage.
No, the passage says the next sentence after the sentence Braylee just read, the second sentence of the second paragraph says, When a resistor is added to the circuit, even more electrical energy is converted into heat. So we know that is false. Okay. The next question says, all metals conduct electricity equally well. Owen, is that true or false?
False.
How do you know?
Because in the passage it says that some metals don't make
Aren't as good as others, right? The second sentence of the passage says they also knew that some metals were not as good at conducting as others. So if some are not as good, they can't be equal, can they?
No.
So that's going to be false. Okay, you have 2 more questions. The next one says, what is the main difference between a conductor and a resistor? What's the main difference between a conductor and a resistor? What does a conductor do? It allows electric current to flow how, Olivia? Easily. What does a resistor do?
A resistor makes it to where the flow is less.
Yeah, it says it limits the flow. So we could say something like a conductor allows electric current to flow easily. A resistor limits the flow. If it's limiting it, what's it doing?
It's stopping it from going any higher.
Yeah, it's stopping it or slowing it down. All right, let's take a look at the very last question. The last question says, how did resistors help the people who invented toasters? How did resistors help the people who invented toasters? I'm going to go back and read the next to last sentence. It says, when a resistor is added to the circuit, even more electrical energy is converted into heat. So how do you think the resistors help the people who invented toasters? Christopher?
I think it helps them because if they didn't have resistors, they wouldn't be able to resist the flow from the conductors, which would make it the toasters get even hotter and really hot to where you wouldn't be able to touch them
Okay.
and use them.
So for a toaster to work, to toast whatever you're putting in there, it has to heat up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but do they want it to get extremely hot?
No.
Okay, so there's a certain range that it has to get at, and the resistors help that to happen. When a resistor is added to the circuit, even more electrical energy is converted into heat, and you have to have heat for the toaster to work. So go ahead and answer that question, and then you may submit.